Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're all doing okay. Big yawn, big yawn. Am I getting? Oh, I'm getting bonked. I'm getting bonked for being late. Good morning, Red. Go to bed right now. Good morning. Oh, no, I feel like you wanted to punish me as why. Good morning, Julia. Nice. Congratulations on hitting 50. Honestly, I feel so. What do we do? What do we travel to other people? As you could let Bumblebee. I slept very badly. 1 second, I need to drink some. So. I think I didn't drink enough water last night because I woke up very congested. And so now I'm just like slowly waking up still. My whole body's just really, really stiff, and I honestly just want to go back to bed, but I also like streaming this early in the morning, so y'all get lucky and I will stay here. Dinner was good. How was yours? Good morning, honey buns for sale. I will take 2 honey buns, please. Can you microwave them? And, I'll take them with like a hot chocolate would be really nice. Thank you. I will wait for my order in the back, okay? I'll wait off screen and you can bring me my honey buns. I'll be right back. Alright, I'll be back after I get the honey buns. They didn't bring me honey buns. I can't believe it. I mean, I have pie at least, though, so I guess that works, right? I love pie. The pie is very good. You ran out? How dare you? Well, it's okay. It's okay. I'll excuse you this time. I'm having mince pie for breakfast, and it's very good. I was not expecting the mince pie to be so good. I'm so glad I saw mince pie and I'm like, I don't know what kind of fruit a mince is, and I bought it. Turns out mince is not a kind of fruit, it is a collection of fruits. But it's very, very yummy. Fine, have fun with that, Zesty. Anyways, we're going to be going through all of our, check-ins, saying good morning to those who checked in. You know the spiel. I'm too tired to explain what we're doing. So first, good morning, Lunar Rain. Thank you for getting first, and congratulations. Good morning, Aiko. Hi, Aiko. You haven't slept. Go to bed. Good morning, Bumblebee. Welcome. Thank you for getting second. No, third, sorry. And good morning, Shadow Prism and Asher. Good morning, Ico and Chemical Flame. Good morning, Julia and MC Bumble. Good morning, Shadow Disconnected. And Eagle. Good morning, Jinx and Cinder. Good morning, Cade and Venom. Good morning, Sleepy Sunny Puppy. Good morning, Nelia and Brooke. Good morning, Necro and Carmia. Good morning, Amelia and Yuki. Good morning, Silverfang and Punkish. Good morning, Echo and Cassie or Casey. Good morning, Zakona and Autumn and Cheeky. Good morning, Tasha and Amy and May. Good morning, Zen and Meow Kitty, and Chicken and Elissima. Good morning, Sunny. Good morning, Ghostly Nightlight. And Admally. Good morning, Spooky Nemi and Red Faye and Pineapple Ferris. Good morning, Sarah and Flying Butt Bees. Good morning, Dea and Zesty and Lunar. Good morning, Pan and Mutt. Thank you for the follow, Honey Buns, and welcome to the menagerie. And thank you, Cheeky Nina, for the subscription. That's greatly appreciated. Good morning, Bud and Deshaun and Microwave. Good morning, Keely and Rel. Good morning, Pink and Alendia. Good morning to all of you. Morning. Let me have another piece of pie. I'm gonna have another bite of this pie. Butter. You can world build before January if you really want. You can write notes. You can write more than 167, or the amount of words, and the story is yours. The story is yours to do with what you will. You can post it anywhere. My one thing is to make sure that you write. That is all I want is for you to write. Because writing is important and not enough people do it. Alright, we're gonna do some Minecraft today. This morning. I did not stay up later than usual. I actually tried to sleep, but I just slept very, very rough. Alright, we're back at it. Can y'all believe how this world has lasted this long? Oh, somebody made the square happen again. Who caused the square? Which one of you was it? Can you believe that this world has lasted this long and I haven't gotten even close to dying? God, wouldn't it suck if I died in this game now? Anyways. 1 second. Oh, I am muted. Might be. Wow, I think I went to mute and then no, never mind. Okay. So I wanted to originally build a wizard tower there, but I think I'm gonna build a wizard tower a little bit further away. Yeah, my brain is not here. Hello. Yes. Oh yeah. Can I say, be a good voidling and go to bed? Or no cage tomorrow? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Wizard tower on the hill. Get the one on the right side of the fridge, Asher. That's the one you should do. Why am I feeling weird? Okay. So anyways, we are going to we will you may have some pie, come get some. Alright, plans, you ready? I'm gonna be making a how do y'all feel about horror? Not like for my stream, but I think I want to make some horror themed TikToks. Because I was going through, okay, y'all know that. I actually don't know if I've told you this. Wow, hello, brain. Come on, you got this. I believe in you. You ready? Okay, brain is here. So, I've been looking at a thing on TikTok because TikTok changes once you hit 10,000 followers, where you can start seeing like what your followers are watching, and it gives you like certain access to things that you can only see with that 10,000. Like, my messages now have 3 categories. One is messages from people with over 10,000 followers. One is messages from followers for more than a year. One is business follows, and one is just standard follower requests or chatting requests. So, and also since it shows me, stuff that y'all are watching, a lot of you watched this video where a guy is building a robot, and like he turns it on to do an evaluation, and he talks to the robot. And the robot's first thing is like, "Where are my arms?" And the guy's just like, "Oh, I haven't built your arms yet. Give it time." And he goes, "Where's my my skin or my flesh?" He's like, "You're a robot. You don't have flesh." And it's like, "No, I had skin. Yet you took my skin. Where's my skin?" Etc. Really creepy, lovely, amazing. I don't know why you all are watching that, but apparently a lot of you watched it. So, I was thinking it might be fun to make a video about the cage man. So I might make a cage man video. Oh, it was. That's why I was late to stream this morning, actually. Because I opened it up, and I was so brought in by it. I was just sitting there being like, "Oh, this is really cool." There's also, though, me being like, "Is this AI or not?" I'm just like, I hope somebody actually spent the time to make this, because if they spent the time, then it's really cool. Yoink. I have an idea. Hear me out. Where'd it go? What? Huh? Huh? Uh... 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 My funnel is gone. What? How did I get there? That's what I wanted. Perfect. That's fair. I also instinctively call people little everything. Good night, Ocean. Always lovely to see you, sweetie. I hope you're doing amazing. Okay, it's time to find my things. We need cobbled deep slate. Buy the bucket loads. I guess I'll leave one in there. Okay. The wizard tower will go on top of this building, with this thing. I'm little pup, that's fine. Oh, good morning, Vanya. Good to hacky. Thank you for the gifted subs. How you doing, sweetie? I hope you're doing amazing. Hi, Vanya. I'll be little pup in your brain. That's okay. I can be little pup in your brain. Beat up the children, I believe in you. You can do it. I mean, don't fight children, that's awful. Why'd you ever want to fight kids? This was a joke. Do not fight kids. Hello, Inks fan. Welcome to the menagerie. How you doing? I hope you enjoy your break, Vanya. Hello, silly Silky. Nice, congrats on reaching your destination. Honestly, if you have to fight a child for self-defense, makes me wonder, what do you, what? Wasn't that pretty? Okay, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Don't. Okay, we'll stop talking about punching kids because I will get in trouble with Twitch if we continue down this path. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. You're fine. 1, 2, 3. Look at me doing math, y'all. But how was everybody else's Thanksgiving? I know a lot of you were here yesterday, so you gotta celebrate Thanksgiving with me. But how was everybody who wasn't here yesterday's Thanksgiving? 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I hope you all did something fun. Discounting math? I don't. You're the teacher. You tell me. 2, 3, 4, 5. You had a busy day. Oh, we should go to sleep. 1, 2, 3. I feel you. 1, 2, 3. Oh, fucking. I am so sorry. That scared the hell out of me. I'm so glad we have good armor now. He made no noise. He made no noise. I hate when they do that. Okay. I'm okay. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I am not more awake. That's the worst part. That's why it terrified me. At least we know I can just tank a freaking. I can just tank that. 2, 3. Oh, did I swear? Oh, okay. Oof. Roof. 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 Brain, no. Brain gone. There is no brain left. It's just roof. 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 Bow wow. Bow wow. I need inside floor plan. I guess it makes sense that the bottom floor should be foundation, so we'll lay foundation as the same brick for now. And then we'll put carpet on the bottom level just to keep our little toesies nice and nice. my brain is not here right now. It's gone. Somebody came by and was just like, yoink. And now it's just, no. I need more deep sleep. Brain gone, voiding. Why'd you eat my brain? Don't eat my brain. Sorry, let me make the noise of Kamiya's car. Just goes. Thunk, thunk. That's you running over an animal that couldn't hear your car. Because it's an electric car. I knew it. Kamiya turns off the car noise so that she can run over people. It plays bells. It sounds like a sleigh bell. God, to me, I was thinking the same thing. I wonder if you can change the noise. Okay, let's see. I need potato. Need this. One day I'm gonna have to build a better sorting system. Today is not that day. Yeah, your hand's doing evil. Why else would your cat be stopping you? Your cat is just trying to prevent evil. Hi, Jinx it now. Welcome to the menagerie. I'm all wrapped up in lovely, lovely blankets. You're doing evil, aren't you? Iron. I have so much iron. Nice. Blanket nest, I wish. Alright, I need to go and do a thing. number one, I'm gonna go and find wherever I put the monster spawner grinder thingy. Because I still want a trident. And I need more experience points. Good morning. Oh, you're awake. Go back to sleep. Have you tried not being awake? Honestly, preferred. The vibe goes hard. Minecraft needs a grappling hook. You know what I want? I want every game to have the hook shot from Legend of Zelda. Every game should have the hook shot from Legend of Zelda. So I can go whoosh, whoosh. Happy Thanksgiving, Yuki. Yuki, I'm still having mic issues. I know they're not noticeable when I do recordings or when I do this kind of stuff, but it bothers me so much. I am so close to figuring them out, but I'm about to go pay money to go to a music studio to take my equipment to find out if it's just my apartment, because I think there's some like poor grounding or wiring going that are causing electrical issues for me. But how are you doing, Yuki? Can we get a shout out for the lovely, 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 lovely Yuki? Backstretched. That was my day. It was good. I had a whole Thanksgiving meal I made myself. I still have my own. The best thing about cooking for yourself on Thanksgiving is that I have so many leftovers. They will never go away. Of course. Lovelies, if you like ASMR and you like especially more traditional ASMR, as well as goofy ASMR, go check out Yuki. They do fantastic work. Boop a doop a doop boop boop. Ba-doop boop ba-doop boop boop. Please insert words instead of the sound I just made. I am lost. Where is my hole? We made mac and cheese. So did I. I could have more mac and cheese. I also have chicken breast in the fridge that I need to cook before it goes bad. Dang, I know my hole is around here somewhere. You don't have my hole on you. Hello, Talassa. Almost where my heart is? Yeah, but where's my hole? Pray don't identify no. Hello, Mustard Cuteness. Your name is adorable. Oh. Wait, one. Okay. Okay. Nope, that is into the woods. We're leaving the woods. There's that one. I know the hole's nearby. can make some chicken adobo. That'd be amazing. It's such a big hole, too. It shouldn't be that hard to find. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That'd be so good. It's a giant hole. Alright, you know what? There it is. Adobo. DE Comics. That sounds like it'd be fun. Yeah, I could totally do that. Once we place the lodestone and get it marked, then I'll read it. Hey Gene, do you ever do things just to make me worry? No, why would I do that? That'd be such an awful thing to do to my lovely friend. I would never intentionally go out of my way to cause them stress. Anyways, watch me 360 this. I didn't realize my hole was so big. Oh, that's what we're looking for. I've never wanted to be good at Bed Wars, but I would love to be one of those people who can turn around and just go, you know? the rapid bridging was always crazy. Oh, a new sub. Thank you so much for the sub. Thank you. I do truly appreciate it. Oh, hi, Moo Moo. Have a good day, Kitchen Chicken Witch. There's a game about the Chicken Witch that I want to play. Okay. Let me get right here. And we'll wait for them to transform, but meanwhile, something we're supposed to be reading. EE coming. I carry your heart with me. Bet, let's do it. Is that what it is? Yeah. Maybe we'll play that. he liked it. I'm glad he liked it. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I'm never without it anywhere. I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. Fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful, you are my world, my true. And it is you, or whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here's the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of the sky of a tree called life, which goes higher than the soul can hope or mind can take, or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. I like it. I transform. Ooh. Become a different kind of zombies. I believe in you. Come on, you can do it. Change for me. One more. I do. I like reading poems. I read them every once in a while. Trident, no trident. One day trident. Depth Strider. No, their flesh is rotting. They do not taste good. Of course I sweet talk the zombies. How would they know I want them to change? If I told you all I've been collecting cans for a video I want to do, a comedy ASMR bit. I almost have enough. You may not eat the zombies, no. I will hunt Carmia. Please send me that idea. That's an amazing idea and very easy to implement. Please send me that idea. That's such a good idea. I actually need to mine deep slates. I might just mine some deep slate around. No. Thank you for the follow. Everything starts with 0. Your name intrigues me. I don't understand it, but I like it. Oh, I need a new shield, don't I? If you got plenty of supplies, I might as well. Thank you. No, so the idea I'm gonna do is something where it's gonna be like very like me just sweet talking. and it's gonna seem like slightly suggestive. You're gonna be like, oh, that sounds so nice. And then you're gonna hear like printer noises, and it's gonna be like, oh, finally. Mm-mm. Oh, of course, everything. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you enjoy your time here. I'm glad Instagram is working out better than I initially thought it would. I need it. No. I hate using a good pickaxe and then swapping to a stone pickaxe because, holy crap, that is awful. Good morning, Vint. Wouldn't it be? Kind of just like come on, baby, you can do it. Just a little further. We're almost there. And then you hear printer noises. This is like, oh, finally. God, this thing wouldn't print all day. Really? Yeah, TikTok is more discerning, like a cute little kitty cat. Not TikTok, Instagram. Is that why I like TikTok so much? Because it's like me, a dog. What is YouTube? Is YouTube a bird? You give it, the more bread you give it, the happier it is. Enjoy your homework, a raccoon. Chibbits, your YouTube? Why a raccoon? Explain the metaphor. Thank you for the lurkies. You contain multitudes. Layers. Chibbits is actually an onion. Pass it on. But see, yeah, but YouTube only grabs a little bit. So much for the pity, Sarah. Gibbets is Mr. YouTube. No money. I took it. It's all mine. No mine. All my money. Your money's not my money. Thank you for the lurks. I decided to scratch my head for a second, and immediately I almost run into a hole. Need for completely non-legal things. Oh, if you need it for non-illegal things, it's good, because I'll use it for crime. So give me your money, I will use it for crime. See, I'm going to use it better than you anyways. I will not. Oh. But why not? That could be I could make cup crime. Make cup crime. Friday, crime day. Yeah. It's crime day, everybody. Let's do a little bit of crimey-wimies. in the hole. That makes sense. I take that. I take that. Whole time. Love me some good hole. I want a metal shipping container. Hello, Leila. Welcome. Welcome. How is your lunch break going? How do you spell purple in German? That's also Lila, isn't it? Is your name Purple Art? Was it Lila? I know, I want to make a shipping container house. You do a lot of fun stuff in shipping containers. You can. I hope you can get some sleep. Doop. 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 Redstone. I need torches. I do all my torches. Ow. You wanna build a tiny house? Is it because you're a tiny person? I mean, you eat where you can, right? Good morning, Lynn. How you doing? Good night, Betty. Sleep well. Diamond, Diamond, lovely to see you, Diamond. Somebody hit, oh, it was you. How dare you? That's alright. Good morning, Devin. How you doing? You using your own car? Bluff boy? That makes no sense to me. What are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about. Duran Kai? I've got my eyes on a company of Alabama that makes fully. Really? Ooh, oh, can you imagine getting having a full-on sound booth made out of one of those? That is a dream, yo. If I can get to the point where I can afford my own sound booth with like a like a Faraday cage around it, so I don't have to worry about any electronic interference on my audio, that'd be so amazing. But I've been looking at some of these fully made offices. Maybe we were looking at the same thing actually. Oh, we might have been looking at literally the same thing, Jibbins. Nina, thank you so much. I really appreciate it this morning. You are so kind to me. Hey, Kamiya, can you take care of that? Thank you, honey. Thank you, Cheeky Nina. I do really, really, really appreciate it so much. Hope you're doing okay. And, I promise I will use the money. I promise I'll use it. Oh, go make some tea. Well, if you haven't made yourself any tea this morning or a hot beverage, you should definitely go do so. And make me a cup of coffee while you're there, please. Thank you. Ooh, I've heard of that tea before. Someone else was mentioning it. We'll take a coffee. Yeah, can you make Moo a coffee too, Kamiya, while you're making yourself a tea? Thank you. So I'm a little peckish. Snackies, thank you. I'm not tired from cleaning a rat cage. But I am tired from just sleeping. I swear, sleep is like a gamble sometimes. And it's like, yeah, sleep's gonna be amazing, and then it's not. Yeah, it just like it wore me out. My whole body hurts. I just slept wrong on something. The blue butterfly tea tastes like butterflies. Yummy. Ew. Mm-mm. Yeah, and I feel like sleeping too much is so easy for me. Ooh. Hey, Gene buddy. Yeah, you just almost baited yourself. What? Never. How would I? What do you mean? Well, you just almost threw yourself off a cliff. No, I would never. Did you bring yourself like a water bucket? Of course not. Why would I do that? We should make a water bucket. All right, Gene. No, did you get a sub? Congratulations. You can probably thank, may have been Nina. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Skeleton almost shot me off. I know I have the falling thing, but I'm still worried that I will fall. Yep, I'm bringing water next time. I'm not gonna risk going down like this. Escapes from the basement. Yeah, this is why you all need to bring a water bucket when you're trying to escape. nice. Did you enjoy your food? What'd you have? You are, Sarah. You are. You're a day walker. Oh, good night, Xander. Sleep well. Mwah. Come on, chameleon. It comes and goes. Come on, chameleon. Bodyguard and happy in the skin. I am not worthless and I am loved. I will believe it if I said enough. Perfect, that's bad to say, that's why What? Rose. Dude vanished, waited till I turned around to thank him after me. There's one above you. Still? Where? Oh, okay. There we go. I love having a compass because it just makes these journeys so much more enjoyable. I don't have to worry about trying to find my way back out. I just dig straight up and get out of there. 1 second. Alright, back to it. Ooh, hello. Name tag, heck yes. I intentionally say carra mia sometimes. Because that was originally made a rap. Somebody pointed that out. The way I say carra mia is like carra mia. So every once in a while I'll go carra mia. Rest well, sleep well. Be good, eat lots of good food. No carra mia. Because I think it's funny. Hello, creeper. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those beepers? What, Casamia? I would never mess with you. Honey, darling, sweetie, why would I ever do something like that? That wouldn't be nice, now would it? No. I am the nicest person out there. I would never do a single thing to bother you. If you think the escape is successful, you haven't gone far enough. That's all I'm saying. You might think you're gone. You might think you made it out. But you still ain't out. Trust me. If it possible. I mean, would I tell you if it was? Would I tell you if it was? Let's be honest. I most certainly would not tell you if it was possible. Then why would you want to leave? Why would you ever want to leave? Hello, hole. Well, ain't that surprising? Whole bunch of you, ain't it? Denied. 100 buckets of water, that's denied. What is diamond? Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you tried to leave gibbets, what would happen to your body? You don't know what keeps you together. Maybe it's sheer will on my part. Is that more diamond? Ooh. Who hit me? Why are you here? Stop it. But yeah, I'm not giving you 100 buckets of water. I deny the request. I have a smooth voice, thank you. I stole it from a man named Billy. Did I approve your request for 100 buckets? You've been redenied. Yay, more diamond. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh yeah, I said suggest anything, and then I turned people down because people were requesting stupid things like 100 buckets of water or 30,000 chicken nuggets. Yeah, but you don't need 100 buckets of water. And that is why I started denying requests. Enjoy your work. Have a good day, okay? Don't forget we stream twice a day. One more energetic, one more chill. 525 water, that's more reasonable. Thank you, Carmia. Chicken soup, I will 100% give you chicken soup, and I'll most definitely give you 10 buckets of water. Alright, I think I have enough stuff for now. Was it early stream because I was singing? 3:30 a.m. Every single morning. Fox, I already said I'd give you 10. You can keep lowering it, but you're only harming yourself now. Well, it's before my work. It's 2 hours before I start working. So I just do it. Don't ask me how I do it. I just did it. It was hard. Just kidding. I just like that sound. Excuse me. Excuse me. Do you wanna... Yeah. Not really. God. Even an explosive one's not gonna kill me in one hit now. No, it is not confidence or arrogance, it's practicality. My armor is strong enough that I'm not gonna just die in one hit. Let me drink some fluids 1 second. I can't do the big cup right now. Not this early in the morning, but I will in the evening stream. Oh. Thank you for that, Bats. It's not beer. I am drinking my lovely, lovely lost energy drink. Ooh. Iron. Take a nap. I'm taking a nap after stream because I want to try to sleep again and see if I can reset my sleep. No, enjoy your picking up of a 2-meter long table. I hope it's not too difficult. No, you have a good one. Enjoy getting dinner. I hope you get something delicious. Make sure it's something delicious, okay? You deserve something delicious. We're gonna... Oak barn door, that sounds beautiful. I'm envious of your table. Really? Why don't you come by and see it one day? Oh, I brought you all down Thanksgiving food yesterday. Can I get any? I'm just gonna build back up. I just wanted to leave the cave, but they don't want me to leave. There was a big old feast, but I made so much food yesterday. Are we out? Yay. Oh yes, someone will try to escape the meal and find out all the doors are locked. And find all the doorknobs missing. As they hear a little rumbling behind them. My brain, I'm so EP right now. What time is it? Oh, we still have about half an hour to go, don't we? I think I'll make it to my normal ending time, and then we'll go and take a nap. Yeah, we'll make it back home. I'll go. Yeah, I need to go get, cows. I need to go breed the cows. I forgot about that. It's cow breeding time. Enjoy. Have a good one, Leela. Yeah. Good morning, Hades. How you doing? I should play Hades. What if I played Hades sometime? That would be fun. Nice little game to just vibe out to while talking to y'all. I need to play so many games. I haven't played it yet. It's good. I played a little bit of it. It's a very good game. Next if there's home. Nope, Thanksgiving was just yesterday. But today is Black Friday. So I'm still off today. A lot of people aren't though. A lot of people are back on. I've not taken my meds. Black Friday is the period of time when companies try to get into the black. Yeah, I need to go get some Christmas gifts, unfortunately. I'm actually expected to get some this year. What musical? Is there a Black Friday musical? I think I need to throw like some sand in here. I still have people to give gifts to. Kind of. Star Kid. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of these sale days are no longer as big as they used to be. Used to get some crazy deals on Black Friday, and now you get next to nothing, so I guess that's why they made it more online. Not that I ever really did it much, but you know. Yes, we get Thanksgiving off, and sometimes, a lot of times it'll be the Thursday, Friday, but sometimes it's only the Thursday. It's a national holiday, so most jobs have it off too. Even jobs that are usually closed will get an extra, like, they'll have like a half, or even jobs that are usually open will get like a half day on Thanksgiving. Hello, no commentary. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the menagerie. Yay, more diamond. You're totally fine. You're totally fine, sweetie. I will never, ever be upset at anybody for being late. Well, I mean, I'm kidding. Imagine if I just go, actually, you specifically, though. Can't believe you're shopping for tires. Ooh, that's rough. I'd hear that. Carmina, there's days you don't show up, and I have yet to complain about it, though I did internally. I have yet to complain about it. I have plans to, but I haven't done it yet. Yay, I have alternating colors. And look at this. Isn't that aesthetic? I love the aesthetic. I made a complaint about people apologizing. I was like, oh no, it's fine. Like, people don't need to, or I guess I did be like, people do these things. I'm like, yeah, obviously they should. I know, right? It's a pretty field. And as they should. I will kill one of you. You. Oh, okay, I got you. This one that's missing? How about this one here? I got you. There you go. Oh, hi, Hoshi. I guess I need to go longer. Alright, I guess I'll keep going. We get a shout out for Hoshi. Good morning, Hoshi. Oh, Hoshi won? That means Hoshi gets on the wall of winners. But I'll also gift Hoshi a sub. One second. You're very tipsy. What do you mean? Why are you tipsy? Why are you tipsy? Oh, sweetie. Have you been drinking? Wow, and I got no drunken DMs. And I got no drunken DMs. That's crazy. Oh, where are my DMs? Where are my drunk DMs? Hmm? No. Of course, of course. Okay. Knockback is so lame. We're gonna make a book. Bless the little cotton kitty socks. Well, Hoshi, you and I will have to drink together sometime. How does that sound? Magical Hoshi flying through the sky. Hoshi, you tell me when it is. You tell me a day that you want to do it, and I will do it. Schedule it. I'm bad at scheduling. But if you tell me a day that works for you, we'll figure it out. No, do you know what we could do? There is a mod that will link. Okay. There is a mod that links people together. It links their inventories together. But you can also then link their death together. So if one person dies, the other person dies. And you can also do like a chain together mod. So do you want to try to beat Minecraft while being chained together? Or do a Minecraft thing where if one of us dies, the other one dies too? But we have the bonus of that. We won't do it hardcore, we'll do like standard, but we'll see if we can do that. We could also just play chain together, if you'd like. Just know that I will do voices the entire time. Okay, good, it is giant tree, I was worried. Fine, just for you, Carmia. I'll do this just for you, okay? You ready? Swordbrook. You're welcome. Go get some meeps, Hoshi. Go lay down. If you need a raid run, feel free to do so. And lovely Hoshi's raiders, you need to go rest too. That's fine as well. Always so happy to get to see all of you. And drink some water. Do you need to be drinking water, Hoshi? Hoshi, water's good for you. Good night, sleep well. We don't let him in this house. It's crazy. Good morning, Kiki. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the menagerie. I mean, you are a cat, that makes sense, but you need to be drinking it. Gulp down some agua. Better drink Dynavasa. You don't need to stay awake, Hoshi. Why do you need to stay awake? Abe, good morning, Sleepy. I'm glad you slept a little bit. Even if it wasn't much. Some magical Leah blared on Charlie. Magical Leah blared on Charlie. It'll show us the way. No, she bad. All right. I think it's funny I made that automatic smelter with a fuel source, but honestly, like, there was no point. The more I think about it, the more I realize there's no point for me of making that auto fuel source. It's fun, it's kind of cool, but like a farm makes more sense when I'm doing like watermelons, so I can always have food ready. But like, it's so easy for me just to grow a whole bunch of bamboo and chop it down, throw it down there. And like, why? Yeah, you're right, Karamia. Thank you for the headbands. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we get, sugar cane. Very valid, though. There we go. Good night, butter. You swell. Butter tub, tub with the butter. Butter tub, tub with the butter. Good night, butter. Tub with the butter. Oh, isn't Spirits a thing now, or is that not out yet? Spears. Spear. It might be Zelda's Lullaby. Spear. Not yet. Why are you saying no like that, God? Mia. It is Zelda's Lullaby. Oh, I didn't realize he was in a bad place, Oshi. Oh, you haven't seen Spears? No, they're a thing. They have lunge. Spear's an upcoming weapon that'll be added to Mounts of Mayhem. It's already a thing. I want to get a mace eventually, though. God, man, you don't have to ask your son anything. I'm telling you, spears are going to be a thing. Crossbow? Ooh. Did I make a tripwire hook? Tripwire? That doesn't make any sense. That makes no... Okay, well, that's fair. Well, Elena, I hope you can get some sleep now. You look more diamond. Duh. Yay. Fun. Good night, Jens. Relax for a while. Quick charge. Ooh, that sounds lovely. Oops. Well, what a waste of a book then. Let's see how this does. Wait, what? Carmia? I feel like I missed something. You have a sore throat? No. I'd hear that, hon. I think crossbows suck. Yeah, I don't have a good enchantment on it, apparently. What do you mean magic arrows? There's different arrows? Oh. Oh. Maybe I should start working on making potions. That would be nice, wouldn't it? And I do need to start looking for nether armor. See, these are all pretty solid. I think I might make some more enchantments and stuff, but yeah. I think we're almost ready to start looking for getting the nether armor. Why 15? See, that would help me if I allowed myself to look at that sort of thing. Ooh, okay. Crossbow shooting fireworks might be fun. He doesn't use it because he's super annoying. Okay, but can I make a nice bow? Power, ooh. What does power do? Is power strength? Does power do more damage? Yeah, it's gotta do more damage, right? Ooh. I should make a chicken farm. And I think I can make a self-sufficient chicken farm. Because chickens always lay eggs, right? They don't need to eat anything for the eggs. So I could just make a chicken farm that makes more chickens. Yes. Gene, didn't you say you're gonna try to beat the game? Shush me. Alright, we gotta go try this out. Hello, Tiny. You're alive from my rest. Very nice, very nice. I'm glad you're alive. Oh, right, you can't hit those with that, can you? No, I forgot about that. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay, now let's find a skeleton. My arch nemesis. Can I set trees on fire? Work. Burn tree. Burn. Disappointing. I was almost excited there for a little while. Is he hiding from me? Alright. Dude, I believe in you, burn. That voice is driving me nuts. What's wrong with my voice? Thank you for the follow, Amber. Greatly appreciated. Welcome to the menagerie. Oh. Let me worry there for a second. And I can still set trees on fire the classic way. Alright. I don't want to set the world on. Hello, doggy. Fire. Just want to start blaming you. If I had my one desire, that would be you. No one else will do. I lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. With your admission that you feel the same, I can be the one you're dreaming of, believe me. My brain is doing a brain thingy. What was I doing? Iron. I hate iron. Where did I put the iron? There it is. I'm going to make a few funnels. Hello? Oh. Well, that was unexpected. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. But if you need to head out, feel free. That's totally fine. I understand. What do the banners do? There we go. Da 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 da. think it's time for us to find some chickens. Yeah. As long as I can get one chicken to follow me all the way. You know what? Let me not be dumb here. There we go. Because Carmia is going to get so mad at me if I fall into one of those. We wouldn't want that, now would we? I've been in this one for a while. Oh no, you know what, we're gonna go. It is almost 6. Yeah, I'll need to come to an end, y'all. I am cool, thank you for noticing. But unfortunately, we will have to probably call it here. Didn't realize what time it was. I'm very pretty, thank you for noticing. Oh, hi, Keeper. Oh, look at this. He's so deep. Isn't that fun? Oh, right, let's not drown. Alright, chicken, give egg. You live here now. Hey, stop moving. You live here now. Make egg. Don't look at me like that. Make egg. Give egg. No, I know you feel fine. Okay. Did you make an egg yet? You don't gotta be nervous. There's nobody watching. See, there you go. Good job. Taking your egg. Make more egg. Oh. Anyways. Don't make me laugh. Okay, let's see who we can raid into. We have dispatch. Oh, cat. I love cat. Cat's cool. They do Minecraft.
That's gonna be very scary.
They're bald. They're bald. Wait 1 second.
Probably still gonna be streaming for another hour or so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Alright, lovelies.
I don't know if I'm gonna continue playing Minecraft. I'm kinda eepy though.
Alright, lovelies, copy the raid message. I'm gonna send you away.
I really wish I could stream my iPad.
Mwah. Mwah.
That would be
Mwah.
nice.
Mwah. Y'all be good, okay? I'll see you later, honeys. Bye for now. Mwah.